In a speech to the pro-Israel lobbying group AIPAC, President Obama said Israel will face growing isolation without a credible Middle East peace process. He repeated his call, too, for the Jewish state to return to pre-1967 borders with the Palestinians, including mutual land swaps, in order to reach peace in the conflict. The idea, though, was flatly rejected by the Israeli Prime Minister. Let's get more on this. Talk to John Mearsheimer. He's a political analyst and expert on US-Israeli relations, joining us on the line from Chicago tonight. Mr. Mearsheimer, a very good evening from RT. It's good to have you on the programme. During today's speech, President Obama repeatedly expressed friendship again towards Israel and commitment to its security. But, you know, considering the recent disagreements we've seen, is that rather a smokescreen, hiding a growing rift in relations, do you think, these days?
Well, ever since President Obama took office in January 2009, he has been fighting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over number one, settlement expansion, and over number two, the two-state solution. The fact is that Bibi Netanyahu has no interest in a two-state solution, and he has no interest in slowing down the building of settlements. And President Obama, like his two predecessors, is deeply committed to a two-state solution. So there's a fundamental difference of agreement here. And this is just the most recent example of the two of them going toe-to-toe.
Well, you know, despite stating, as I mentioned there, the unwavering support for Israel, President Obama also said that the state will be left in isolation if the peace process doesn't come in earnest. John, let's just listen to what President Obama had to say for a second.
The march to isolate Israel internationally and the impulse of the Palestinians to abandon negotiations will continue to gain momentum in the absence of a credible peace process and alternative. We can't afford to wait another decade, or another 2 decades, or another 3 decades to achieve peace. The world is moving too fast.
Well, John, the President sounding pretty clear there. Certainly, you know, the rhetoric's being ramped up. Do you think the US itself would withhold its support if Israel doesn't agree to peace on Washington's terms, these new terms being called for?
For the foreseeable future, there's virtually no chance that the United States will stop supporting Israel unconditionally. The Israel lobby is just too powerful in this country for any president to really get tough with Israel. But what President Obama was saying very clearly is that Israel is being isolated around the world, and the Palestinians are gaining the upper hand in terms of world opinion. And what's going to happen here is that it's going to be Israel and the United States against the rest of the world. This is disastrous for the United States, and it's disastrous for Israel. And that's the message that Obama is sending to Netanyahu. But unfortunately, the message is not getting through.
So there's not an element, you think, of the US losing its patience a little bit here? I mean, after all, it supported Israel's every move for decades. Israel maybe, I'm thinking, has grown so used to accepting that, it started to demand more than Washington's prepared to give. You don't think that's the case, no?
No, there's no question that the United States is well beyond losing patience with Netanyahu and with Israel more generally. Behind closed doors, the United States is furious with Israel because Israel is pursuing a policy that is not in the American national interest. This is disastrous for us, and that's why Obama wants a two-state solution. But the problem that Obama faces, like all American presidents face, is that you can't put any pressure on Israel, because the lobby in this country is so powerful that it would do great damage to Obama's political future. And as you know, he's running for election next year in 2012.
Will there ever be a straw that breaks the camel's back as far as America is concerned when it comes to Israel?
That's difficult to say. I sometimes think that at some point in the not too distant future, some Americans, politicians, some prominent American politicians are going to stand up and say the emperor has no clothes. And once this is out in the open and people start talking about it, that will mean real trouble for Israel. But so far that's not happened because basically American politicians have no backbone. They're a spineless lot. They're unwilling to stand up for the American national interest, and they kowtow to Israel at every turn because they all fear the Israel lobby. It's a quite remarkable phenomenon.
John Mearsheimer, political analyst and expert on US-Israeli relations. Thanks for joining us on the line from Chicago. It's appreciated.
My pleasure.